Okay, welcome and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Water Connections webinar series. And today I'm going to talk about something that is a little different, right? We haven't really talked about fitting and pipe before. And the reason this came about is because not too many months ago, I was talking to Eric Santos, somebody many of you know in the industry, and he said, you know, Richard, I really think the Blu-Lock fittings and the Blu-Lock pipe or the blue pipe is really going to be a game changer for the entire industry. I think that as people start to use it and understand the value of it, mainly from labor savings, this is really going to take the industry by storm. And it was very interesting to hear that from Eric, somebody with that much experience and so much knowledge. So, of course, I started talking to Darren Harris about this. Now, for those of you who don't know Darren, I'll tell you he's a regional manager for Hydrarain and has been at Hydrarain for many years now. But he cut his teeth in golf course irrigation. Now, he went to school for golf course work. Started working in golf course irrigation, and as far as a resource for really knowing all the ins and outs of irrigation, Darren is one of the top people that I've met in my 25 years in the industry. Very knowledgeable. The other thing about Darren is he really does care about the customers and making sure that they are doing things right. You wouldn't expect Darren to give somebody bad advice or, more importantly, not to cut any corners. So we're really fortunate to have you here today, Darren. Thanks so much for being our guest and coming on and talking about this real innovative product in the industry.
Well, thank you, Richard. You're making me blush, but yes, I've been around everything from golf courses to service and repair companies to apartment complexes, to selling water savings and water conservation. This is just kind of a component that fell in, and I don't know everything about it. I don't know everything about a lot of things, but I think I know enough to make myself dangerous. Is how I put it.
Yeah. Well, listen, I've talked to you enough about this product and heard you talk to other customers about it where I think you really are an expert in this area. So so help us all out right from the start. And what's the difference between a PVC system and a Blu-Lock system? And is that what we call it, a Blu-Lock system? I mean, kind of explain all that, please.
Certainly. So our branding is Blu-Lock, and that's really related to the fitting that we have. In the case, we also have PVC-Lock, which works for PVC pipe, but Blu-Lock was designed to work with high density polyethylene, HDPE, 80 and 100-pound poly. That is typically what we see used for irrigation. And for the most part, it's been used for decades up in the northern half of the U.S. and outside of the U.S. Europe, Australia, all those. Poly, as guys refer to it, it's high density polyethylene, is really the piping of choice. PVC has been used down here in the South forever. That's what all I knew about up until about 2002. And this is not a debate over, is PVC better than poly or poly better than PVC? That's the Coke versus Pepsi, Ford versus Chevy. Everybody has their preference, and each of them work well. Kind of what we're going to talk about today is, what's different between Blu-Lock fittings for poly pipe compared to insert fittings, as well as compared to PVC, because there is a difference, and really it boils down to time. Like you mentioned before, I spent years on golf courses back in 2002 in Nevada, working at a golf course outside Las Vegas. I had a PVC golf course. All the irrigation was PVC. And we built a new golf course, and it was this big tubing stuff that came in rolls called HDPE. I had no idea anything about it. It was brand new to me, and got to experience that, and it was marvelous. It was easy to work with. The joints are actually stronger than the pipe when you do them correctly. It's just the benefits were unbelievable, as well as the speed that it went in. PVC has been around since really the 50s. You have to solvent weld it. You need primer to clean it. Then you need a solvent to melt that down and chemically weld the pipes together. I, doing research and learning about it and trying to gather the history, PVC replaced copper. We used to sweat copper together. The reason why PVC replaced copper was because it was easier to use and it was faster to install. So I will ask all those listening, remember that. Easier to use, faster to install. That's why we went from copper to PVC.
So two things here, Darren.
Yep.
One, I recall, right, when I was hiring some irrigation techs at Valleycrest, and I was like, well, how do you know which is the best one to hire? And one of the business developers said, well, hire the one with the glue on his pants. And I always thought that was funny, right? But I don't think that's so funny anymore, because really one of the advantages of Blu-Lock, and this is a question, right? You don't use any glue.
There's no glue. There's no tools really required for Blu-Lock fittings. All you need is a pipe cutter. And HDP is actually a little softer than PVC. So if you have a PVC cutter, it's like, cutting through cardboard is essentially how I relate to it. It's extremely easy. You're not having to carry around a quart of glue and a quart of primer, and then a bevel tool and a pair of cutters. You don't have to carry around pliers and clamps and all the things, a hammer, a rubber mallet for insert fittings. It is a toolless install. It doesn't require anything but your hands and a cutter. That's it. That's the beauty of it. And that's really where we get the speed from, is the fact that you're not having to go through multiple steps to connect two pieces of pipe together.
Yeah. Okay, great. I want to remind everybody that I do have the Q&A in the chat open. So if you have some questions for Darren, pop them in there and I'll ask them when it's appropriate. The other thing I wanted to mention here too is the high density polyethylene pipe. They doing some work on the island of Hawaii a few years ago. I remember they had in their spec, it had to be HDPE because of two things. One, strength, and then the ability to take some movement. Is that correct?
Certainly, yes. That's the one of the nice things about the Blu-Lock is it is more abrasion and impact resistant than PVC. PVC obviously is, it's very rigid. It comes in 20-foot sticks. Poly or HDP comes in rolls. You can get 100-foot rolls, 300-foot rolls, 500-foot rolls of pipe. So you can imagine having this long length of pipe with no fittings on it. There's no potential for breaks or leaks, right? Any joint in any PVC, poly, anything like that, you introduce an element of human error that could eventually cause a failure of the pipe. But yeah, the pipe is more durable. It's more resistant to cracking than PVC, which also means it's resistant to failure due to water hammer, because you're not getting that jolting going on. One of our biggest probably Blu-Lock users down in Central Texas, down outside of Austin, uses it because the ground there is all rock. It is limestone. You're using a rock saw in order to cut your trench. And by doing that, you're never going to get a trench that's perfectly level. So you get PVC pipe that's going up and down and up and down, and the Blu-Lock just molds right to it. And it'll also resist some of that deflection that you have in the soil. So it makes complete sense that they would have spec'd it in Hawaii.
Yeah, it sounds like a great solution to a tough day. Now, tell us a little bit about the labor savings, right? This is one of the big things, right?
Sure. So, one of the big labor savings that we have really is we've been doing it for 20 years. We introduced these products in 2004. So you understand that the labor savings really come from speed. If you can control your labor, you can do jobs faster, you can get done and get off the job and get to the next one, you're typically a more profitable entity. If you're having to wait around, if you're having to stand there, if you're having to just have laborers stand waiting for glue to dry, you're like watching paint dry. It's not a good way to run a business. So being faster, being quicker really allows us to take advantage of the industry and make guys and gals, owners of companies, more profitable. If they're more profitable and they can grow their business and we can contribute to that, we hope that they continue to use our product to help continue to grow their business.
Yeah,
Um,
and you know, I don't find a contractor today that couldn't be busier if he had more labor, right? There's more demand for work than these guys have to do, mainly because they don't have enough labor. So, wow, what a
Absolutely.
great solution to that issue.
Yeah, and you got to experience our lovely crazy weather down here in Texas last week in Austin, where it was 14 degrees. You're not working in 14 degrees because you can't put pipe together.
Yeah.
Ours, you could go put it together, but that's just going to delay, and we'll get rains here in the spring. Everybody gets it, and especially if you're dealing with deadlines, if you're dealing with housing, a house that's got to close, that builder doesn't want to wait an extra day for you to finish the irrigation because you're at the tail end. It doesn't matter if the roofer was slow or the bricklayer was slow or the framer was slow. You're the one put under the gun because you got to get your pipe in the ground so they can get the sod laid and the plants in the ground so they can get their CO so they can sell the house.
Yeah. Well,
So
you're
you're
right
the one
about
that
that, aren't you?
you're
Yeah.
you're you're at the bottom of the list of getting just pushed. And yeah, we get into the springtime and we may lose 3 or 4 days because of rain. It rained and then it's muddy and it gets messy. But we're able to get back out there faster. We're able to get more jobs completed faster. We can do more work with the same labor allocation than PVC or barb fittings, and that's really the key.
You know, where it really hit home for me in the advantage, the labor savings advantage, when I actually saw some go together. Can you put some together or show us some videos or something?
So yeah, it's hard to come across. It's really a one-on-one, in-person type of intimate experience. But yes, thanks to my guys at Sprinkler Warehouse, they put together a little video. It's very simple. It's very short. You'll notice the pipe's already cut. There's no tools. Literally, he is just going to use his hands, and he's going to take the pipe and push it together. That's it. Then he's going to add our little swing joint, a little street L with a little flexible so he can put the 1/2 inch swing pipe on to connect the head. But is that's how you assemble Blu-Lock pipe.
Yeah, so I see that, and I think I don't even have the cap off the glue yet, right? And he's on his way. So tell me, does that really stay together?
So yes, it does. We go through rigorous testing to make sure that it does stay together. Actually, once you apply the water pressure to that pipe and those teeth lock in, it's actually even more difficult to get apart because now you're fighting those stainless steel teeth that will just dig into that pipe and hold that together. So working pressure, we say for 100-pound poly is 100 psi. Burst pressure is somewhere in the neighborhood of 350 psi. So if you've got 350 psi on an irrigation system, you've got bigger problems in your pipe in the ground. You've got heads blowing out, valves blowing out. I mean, even some commercial valves are only good up to 200 psi. So the pipe is not going anywhere. High density polyethylene actually has a service life of 50 to 100 years. So it can sit in the ground and not have to be adjusted. Contrary PVC, it's about 20 to 40 years before it starts to degrade. So yeah, the resilience is impeccable.
So I don't quite get it, right? So I think these fittings are reusable though. So if it's on that tight, how do I get it back off?
Well, number one, and this is for your safety and your dryness, turn the water off.
Yeah.
Then once the water's turned off, I recommend you go bleed a valve, do something, get some of the pressure off the system. But we actually have release tools, and they are a little release tool that slides over the pipe, and you just slide it into the fitting. It depresses those teeth, and the fitting comes right apart. We never make mistakes as irrigators, right? We're perfect. We never put the wrong fitting on or put a 90 where a T should have been. So it's really, yeah, it's just there in case you need it. You don't have to use it all the time. But again, if you glue the wrong fitting on, you're cutting pipe. So now you've got waste. You can't take it off. You can't reuse it. If you need to cut something out because you're rerouting for a pool deck, you can put a cap on it and then just take the cap off, reconnect your pipe, connect to your new zones, and away you go. So yeah, the fittings are reusable. People say, why do you want to take them off? Well, I promise you, we've all made mistakes putting pipe together at one point or another. We all had that brain cramp, and you grab the wrong fitting and you put it on, and then you look down and you went, that doesn't look right.
Yeah.
And you have to start over. So we make it a little easier if and when those ever instances happen.
And it's always the designer's fault, by the way. So the other question we have coming in right now from one of our viewers is there, well, okay, what about leakage though?
Well,
Do these fittings leak?
well, I would ask if they're installed properly. No. If you install a glued fitting the wrong way, it'll leak. If you forget to put glue on it, it'll leak. If you put too much glue on it, it'll eventually leak. So when installed properly, no. We go through again rigorous testing at our factory in Utah for resistance to bending without leaking, pulling out, taking the force to actually try and physically remove it out of the fitting, as well as bursting. We again take it to its failure so that we know where it fails. It's nothing different than a barb fitting or anything like that. You use it and install it properly, and we saw how easy it is. It's almost too easy in some instances, but there is a stop built into the fitting. So when you push the pipe all the way in, you'll feel it bottom out. Once you do that 2 or 3 times, you understand what's going on, and it's a no-brainer. It's just a subconscious reaction to pushing it in and going about your business.
And Darren, how much experience do you have with this? I think you have it installed in your home, right?
I have a zone that we installed in my house. I also have a zone that I installed off of a back hose faucet for my garden, and I ran our 1/2 inch, and because I'm never home, I just ran it to the fence and then hooked it between the fence. So it's actually exposed. It just is sitting there. The west sun beats it down. That's another benefit to poly pipe in general is the fact that it is naturally UV resistant. So you can use it for temporary irrigation. I actually had a meeting yesterday here in Frisco with some contractors about temporary irrigation because it's above ground, it's exposed to the elements, and it's naturally UV protected. So you're not going to get that degradation that you do with PVC. But it's, again, I come from the PVC world. That was my world for up until 8.5 years ago, really. I never knew this type of product existed for homeowners. I thought only golf courses, municipal projects, and sports fields took advantage of it. And when I found it, it simplifies the process so much, and it makes it so much faster to install and get the job done. And you get the job done, you get paid, you move on to the next one.
Yeah. So another question coming in, Darren. Thank you for answering that. Does this work with standard black poly tubing, or do you need to use the blue poly? This is measured as an OD instead of ID.
Correct. So we work with any 80 or 100-pound poly. And so you look at any of those, they make them in black, blue, green. I think those are the 3 major colors that they'll come in. But yeah, if it's 80 or 100-pound power, it's SDR 10 and 15. You're going to get me lying because I didn't write that down. But yeah, 80 or 100-pound poly works with any of those. We also have a saddle that we make for 1.25-inch poly, but we don't make any of our push fittings for 1.25-inch poly.
Yeah, and then so the thing again that I really saw was when we did a little bit of a landscape rodeo, right? And we did an install using PVC, install using Blu-Lock, and I got to see firsthand how much faster the Blu-Lock was installed. I think you have a video of a real job site, real contractors.
I do. I have one right here. We'll get it started because it takes a second to go through. But yes, this was a contractor out in Utah, and they did 2 houses side by side. So the contractor has both of the houses. They normally do PVC, and they were willing to let us film it and everything. You see the house there on the right, they're laying out all the pipe. That house there on the left, they're getting all the Blu-Lock pipe laid out and ready to go. And they're going to start and go. If you notice this gentleman right here on the left, the only tool he has in his hand is a pair of cutters. That's it. The gentleman on the right, they've got a pair of cutters. They've got a quart of solvent, and our guy on our left, he's got 2 fittings on, and we're just now getting the jar of solvent open. So the time savings just right there, as well as the fatigue of having to go and cut and move. I mean, I'll give these guys credit. He kind of smiles there. I kind of like that because he sees what's going on. He sees that they're falling behind. But these guys do this every day. If you'll notice the gentleman on the left, his jeans, like you said, look a little too clean to be somebody that does this day in and day out. So you've got these guys that are just blowing and going. This is what they do day in, day out. They cut PVC, they glue PVC, they put it together. But we're simply just faster because we save labor, we save the time that it takes to put all those fittings together. One thing you can do right away with Blu-Lock and even PVC-Lock is you can turn the water on. Once you've got that system sealed up and you've got your valves and everything installed, you can turn the main line on. There's no wait for that solvent well to cure in order to be resistant to pressure and to flow. So these guys roll along. It's and they're not slow by any means. It's just the fact that we can make them even more productive on the job site and make it easier for them to put in. So when it's 110 degrees outside, it's easier on them. There's less fatigue. I'm not saying you got to work harder, but if you can work smarter, that's the key.
Yeah, when you can see the professionals on the right hand side and the safety vest, they are really fast for PVC, but they're not even close to the other team.
No, they like you said, and these guys, they got wire going in now, but yeah, the guys over here on the left, I'm not gonna disparage them any, but they're office guys. But there you can see there's the time, 45 minutes, 4,800 square foot of irrigation coverage, 49 minutes, 2,400 square feet. Yeah. So it took them about the same amount of time, but they did half the amount of zones to get that covered. So again, we say it's anywhere between 25 to 60% faster. And we certainly stand by that. Here's some timing as well on what we've done. Just timing. How long does it take somebody to put a traditional PVC tee together versus a poly tee with clamps versus our Blu-Lock tee? Takes about 1 minute and 43 seconds to glue together a PVC tee. It takes about 1:22 to do a poly tee because you've got to get the tee inserted. You've got to hit it with a hammer. Then you've got to put the clamps on. You got to hunt the clamps down. The Blu-Lock tee, 44 seconds. I mean, the proof is in the pudding right there. And then when you get to saddles, it's even faster. I mean, it cuts the time in half. Saddles are fast. I mean, you're talking 13 seconds to put a saddle in, to be able to put a saddle on, tap it, put the head in. Ours takes 7 seconds.
Wow.
I mean, it's a matter of speed. And the faster you are, the more productive you are, the more profitable you are.
So we've got another a question coming from a viewer, Darren, and it's is there different HDP pipe for different uses, like something one kind for landscape, one for golf courses?
So yeah, so in the if you look at you've got 2 major types of polyethylene pipe, which is a variation. You have low density polyethylene, which most everybody is accustomed to. That's your inline drip tubing, right? It's very thin, it kinks very easily, it's very brittle. You can almost tear. I mean, well, squirrels chew through it. And then you have high density polyethylene, or it's called PE 100, and that came into really the piping industry about 1980. Once they were able to take that polymer chain, that chain of molecules, and get it even denser, now it became viable for pipe use. Natural gas, water delivery, stormwater, wastewater, all that type, even air. It's workable temperatures, -40 to 170 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's a huge temperature range that you're still able to use that. So you can come across types. If you buy from any major distributor, if you go to anywhere, then you're looking for high density polyethylene for irrigation use. It's going to be that 80 to 100 pound poly. When you get into the bigger pipes and you get into something like a 3-inch or a 4, or we had as big as 12-inch poly, that stuff gets much denser because you're dealing with a lot higher velocities and higher pressures. But yeah, so it varies. But any irrigation distributor knows about poly can look it up. But there's only there's a handful of pipe extruders that make high density polyethylene, and majority of them are all built for irrigation installation use.
So Darren, can I really install this without digging a trench? I've read about that, right? I'm a California
Um,
guy mostly, so
I'm a
not
Texas guy.
not a trench digging.
Yeah, we like digging the trench. Yes, you can. And this was something I didn't know about 8.5 years ago. And man, it would be a game changer. This is a vibratory plow, and guys use it all through the Midwest, up into the Northeast. Um, Anywhere where you're not dealing with solid rock, even clay soils and stuff like that, this plow, you can see the machine in front has a blade. It has a bullet on it. You attach the pipe to it. It sticks it down in the ground and just pulls it right along. So I've always had to dig a trench. We've always had to backfill a trench. You've always had to water settle and tamp a trench so you didn't get a lot of unsightly settling. And when I was at my own irrigation business, I hated seeing that mound of dirt in a trench line across somebody's yard all the time. It just bothered me. So we actually took the time and the expense. We would mark our lines, and then we would go sod cut every area that we were going to dig a trench in, so that once we got it settled, we could just roll the sod back out, set it back down, tamp it down, water it in. Because no homeowner or even any, you just paid for an irrigation system, and now you've got to look at this checkerboard of just dirt lines across your yard. It's an amazing tool. I've had people, say, "Oh, you can't do that here in Texas. Now it's clay soils and all this." I saw guys putting in fiber optic literally across the street from my HOA. And I was running up. I was going to get the kids donuts. There's a nice little donut store up there. But I had to stop and look because I'm like, wait, what are they doing? That looks like a vibratory plow. Sure enough, they went straight across this undeveloped lot, ran that fiber optic cable down in there, had no problems whatsoever. So there is the ability to use a vibratory plow. It doesn't require any trenching. And you can imagine if you're not touching the same dirt twice, how much even faster that becomes. But
Boy,
we'll take every little bit we can get. Unfortunately, here in Texas, a lot of municipalities require open trench inspections of the irrigation system. Some don't. Some you just have to pothole a T or a 90 here or there. So there's the ability to use this type. And again, it's not new technology. Guys that are on the call from up in the Northeast or up in the Midwest are looking at us like we're crazy. Like, you haven't ever seen a plow? Everybody has a plow. Nobody trenches up here. So again, another tool for labor savings is absolutely the ability to use a vibratory plow. And I've had guys that'll pull PVC,
yeah.
but you got to stop every 20 feet.
Another couple questions coming in. What's the
Sure.
largest diameter push fitting size?
So for Blu-Lock push fitting, the largest we go up to is a 1 inch. So that's your typical residential irrigation size. Barb fittings typically will go up to about 2. Anything over 2 inch, you're usually going to start looking at what's called butt fusion, where they take and they have these 2 little deli slicers, and you marry the pipe up, and it creates a very symmetrical, cut on both sides, and then it pulls it together and heats it up and basically fuses that pipe together. And that fusion, I believe, you're asking me to remember 20 years ago. I believe the guys were telling me it's about 40 times stronger than the actual pipe itself
Wow.
because it fuses over. So it's like welding on a pipeline, but you're welding, a plastic together.
So another question here. Do you have something so you can thread this into a 1-inch valve?
So we certainly do. We have male adapters. We have all sorts of fittings across the deal. We also make a push fitting valve that actually comes with the coupling there built into the valve itself. So you install the valve and you just push the pipe right into the downstream side of the valve. So it's quite unique. Again, we've tried to do everything we can to manufacture every product you need to install a system as quickly and efficiently as possible.
Yeah. Wow. What a time saver. That's fast in the valve box there. Another
Absolutely.
question. What's the smallest size? Can we use this for drip irrigation?
So yes, we actually do, and I can jump ahead if you want on my little slide deck here. We actually make a drip lock fitting. So we actually make a fitting that works with 17 millimeter, inline drip irrigation. It also will fit a couple of different manufacturers' funny pipe or swing pipe. So you've got one fitting that can handle multiple options. So especially if you're coming off a lateral, say going to a tree ring, and you've
Hmm.
got to run 15, 20 feet. Most guys are using funny pipe. That's what we call it down here. Swing pipe, whatever the flexible 1/2 inch is. And then they'll put a T, and they'll have to convert to drip, and then they'll run their tree ring around that new tree. Ours, you just need one fitting, and you can build that tree ring and connect back to that flex pipe or that funny pipe. Um, so yeah, we do make it for drip. It's great for repairs. Like I talked about earlier, you get squirrels or other rodents that like to chew on that drip line. You just cut it and push it together. You're not fighting barbs. You're not doing what I call the chicken dance, trying to get those barbed elbow, you get the pipe past those barbs. So it makes it very easy. And then again, on the right, we've got PVC lock. We've got pieces for that work for all PVC. But yes, we do make a 1/2 inch swing pipe as well that fits on our 1/2 inch, which is proprietary to us. But again, it's releasable. It goes together. The insertion force required is just minimal. So again, it makes life faster and easier.
So it looks like the items on the far right there, they're for like brake repairs or
So
repair.
yeah, those are our slide repairs, slip fittings, telescoping couplings, whatever regional dialect that you call those. We call them slip fixes here in Texas, probably because it sounds cooler to say slip fix than it does slide repair. But those are for 1.5 and 2 inch. So we just released those this year at the IA show out in Long Beach. And they are unique in the fact that they come put together. So you've got the coupling and then you've got the telescoping portion of it. But the beauty of that is on 1.5 and 2 inch lines, it always works out that Murphy's Law says you're at the bottom of the hill when the break happens. So you've got to wait for all that water to drain out. You've got to pump it out of the hole. And then as soon as you go to glue that pipe and you kind of lean on it a little bit, more water comes out and you got to pump it out of the hole. PVC lock, all you need to do is have a good clean cut, bevel your pipe. Even if there's a little water trickling out of the pipe, you can still push the fitting on and complete your repair. And then the only wait time you have to turn the pressure back on, even on a 2 inch line, is however long it takes you to walk back to the backflow device and turn the water on. So that is a beautiful asset for commercial property guys that have it, especially on a Friday afternoon. It's always going to be 4 o'clock. You're going to get there. There's a 2 inch line and it's going to be 100 degrees tomorrow. So you got to get it fixed. We give you, again, the tools to get it fixed quickly, get paid, get back to the house.
Yeah. A lot less shovel time, that's for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm looking at all this and I'm listening to you and I'm sold, right? I get it. But then I start to think, man, this has got to be expensive. I'm waiting for the price tag that's going to
You're waiting
come
for the price to drop? Yes.
yeah,
So,
shatter my all the energy I have going right now.
certainly. So that's the first question we get. Well, how much does it cost? Well, I ask guys all the time. I was like, how much is your time worth? And I go back to this. I actually had a friend post this a couple years ago, and I've kept it. There's 3 kinds of service you can offer, and how do you want to be perceived in the market? We offer you the ability to do things fast, and we offer you the ability to do things really good. But yes, it's not going to be cheap, but it's by no means exorbitantly expensive compared to PVC. I always talk to guys that a PVC fitting, so 1 inch T, there's nothing cheaper you can get to combine 2 pieces of pipe than a PVC T. It is by far the cheapest product that is out there. It's worked for, going on, 70 years. But again, if there's something that's easier, if there's something that's faster, even though it might be a little bit more expensive, it could be worth it. So I've actually done this. Kudos to one of my outside sales compadres with Texas Irrigation down in Buda, Texas. He and I sat down, we created a spreadsheet and we went through all the common parts. We took an actual irrigation plan that we did. It was a 6-zone, just a little homeowner system. And we're able to throw in, the parts, because PVC pipe and fittings and solvent and primer and all that, it's a constantly moving target on pricing. And so we're able to go in there and update it and do a comparison. How fast do you have to be in order to make it profitable to go to Blu-Lock? straight apples to apples, just material parts, just pipe and fittings and solvent and glue, you're looking at Blu-Lock versus PVC is about 7% more expensive. So it's nominally more expensive. That really breaks down to about $7 a zone is all it is. We haven't even looked at, that's assuming your guys take the same amount of time to install the system, which we've seen through the videos. We've talked through it. We know from experience is not the case. They're going to be faster. I tell guys, they're going to be faster the first job you get on. Probably not. They've got to learn it. They've got to understand it. The second job, and I've seen this time and time again, about the second or third zone in that second job, all of a sudden everything starts clicking.
Yeah.
And the guys, it's a change of thought process and they get to rolling. So let's assume just for this presentation that you're able to reduce the time to install by 20%. Let's assume you have a 5-man crew. It normally takes you 5 hours to put in a 6-zone system. I think that's a relatively conservative number. If I'm 20% less, that means I'm an hour faster. Okay, I get done an hour earlier. That's 5 man hours that I have now saved. Okay, so if I'm an hour faster, I actually will make about $14 more for that job, or about $2.50 per zone straight away. So I'm more profitable and I got done faster. So that means in a 5-day work week, if I'm doing 1 job a day, I could do an extra job a week. And that means I'm doing 6 jobs in a week instead of 5 jobs, which means I'm getting done faster, which means my builder, my homeowners, my clients are happier because I'm getting to them and I'm getting them taken care of. And I'm able to take that. If you're happy with the volume of work that you have and the dollar that you have in the bank account, work 4 days a week, take a 3-day weekend. I can't tell you exactly how to run your business, but to me, we give you the ability to get more jobs done in the same amount of time. And that is, in my mind, priceless, but it does save you money at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. What a combination, right? So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and a couple of advantages. There we go. SIDR 15 and 19. I lied. I had it on the slides. It just got further down the line. So to answer your question, does it work with any polys, 80 or 100 pound, or the SIDR 15 and 19? And don't ask me what the SIDR means because I haven't looked that up. So I just know 80 and 100 pound poly. Again, I'm a PVC guy. That's what I know. So, but certainly you can see here, these are the key features, right? These are what we're looking at, the advantages of Blu-Lock. It's easier. We talked about that earlier. It's compatible, it's releasable, it's faster. A couple of benefits that you see over there, obviously our fittings, our pipe, they're all recyclable because they're made out of recyclable materials. Low insertion force, and we actually gain over barb fittings about a 25% increase in flow because we're not restricting the flow at every fitting. It's going over the outside, so you're maintaining the inside diameter of that pipe throughout the entire system. So it's a great, like I said, it's a great benefit. It's a great key to what we look for and making your life easier, making it faster to install. We know we're fast.
I'm sold. I want to do this. Maybe I want to get some samples. Yep. I need some help. I have questions. How do I get a hold of you?
So the easiest way is there's my contact info. There's my cell phone number, and that is my email address. If you call me at 3 in the morning, I probably won't answer. But if you leave me a message, send me a text, as long as you're not one of these toll tag guys that are sending me texts that I have unpaid tolls. I don't know if y'all are getting that out in California. It's a big scam going on here in Texas right now. But absolutely pick up the phone, grab your email, shoot me some information. Let me know where you're at, what you're interested in, what piqued your interest. And we'll start a conversation because like anything else, like you nicely mentioned, I want guys to be successful. I care about my contractors. I want them to know that it works. I don't want them to just go out there and be like, well, I tried it and it didn't work. Well, let's work with you to make sure you're successful from the get-go and then make sure you're successful 10, 15, 20 years from now. And that we can grow with you. Because that's really the true idea of a partnership. is not just selling you a product, but making sure that you are happy all the way through, and continue to use it year over year and enjoy using it and want to use it. And then you tell your friends, and then we have, more work than we can shake a stick at. So,
Darren,
absolutely, call me, text me.
that is such a generous offer. I don't know where, what other industry or what other place can we find a representative from the manufacturer that will say, hey, I'll help you out. Text me, call me, email me. It's
Yep.
available for no charge. And
Yep.
yeah, I think this is a fantastic offer. I hope everybody takes you up on this. We have one last question.
Certainly.
Somebody just wants to clarify, when I take those fittings off, can I reuse them?
You can reuse the fittings, you can reuse the pipe. So absolutely. Now I will tell you, look at it, make sure that you didn't bend a tooth or do something like that, like you do anything. But I actually replaced and reused some PVC lock that had been in my front yard for about 7 years, where I had a tree cut down and the stump got removed, and I, did the 490s and went over, and well, the mulch settled and I had to go take it apart. But I was able to dig down, just literally cut the pipe, twist it, lay it down horizontally instead of vertically, and reattach using the same fittings that had been in there for 7 years.
Wow.
So it absolutely works. Now, can you take them off and put them back on 1,000 times? No, I can't figure out a reason why you would. But we use them all the time in demos, at expos and things like that. And eventually on a poly pipe, it'll get kind of scratched up, and okay, so you cut a little piece off and you put it back together. So, but yeah, reusing them, 10, 15 times, if you're using, temporary irrigation or something like that, absolutely feasible.
Darren, thank you so much. This was a wealth of knowledge that you shared with us today. You certainly have piqued a lot of interest, and I know we're going to have a lot more Blu-Lock users as a result of this. So thank you. I want to thank everybody who joined us today. We really appreciate you spending the time with us. I know how busy everybody is these days. So thank you for that. Remember, you can see all our webinars for free at hydrorain.com, and you'll find that under the webinar heading. And we also extract the audio out of these and put them into podcasts. So wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, you can learn about Blu-Lock or any of the many other podcasts that we've done. It really excites me when I think and see people out working, listening to podcasts, and learning at the same time they're working. It's really a great deal. So anyway, thanks again, everybody. Thank you, Darren. I hope you'll come back in a few months and teach us some more about irrigation, man. You got a great style about you, and I really appreciate it.
Not a problem. I'm happy to. Thank you all for having me.
Okay, thanks.